Hello, this is Winston Cunningham. It is October 13th, 2025, and I want to talk about truth. It was the search for truth that led me to the School of Metaphysics after I'd grown up in a religion, and between religion and school, I had too many questions hanging out. And they talked a lot about truth, but it was as if read these scriptures and that's the truth and don't go anywhere else. Well, that didn't tell me what I needed to know, because the church was saying that you're supposed to just accept and believe and everything be all right. But I really couldn't get into that. I tried as a young child, but I grew out of that. So at the age of 42, I found myself at the School of Metaphysics because I insisted on having the truth. And I asked within myself, I said, where is it? I don't care what you call it, or where it is, I want it. But what I said next is what caused it to come to me. I say caused it to come to me. And so when I said I will have it, that's when the School of Metaphysics showed up. And they had everything just laid out for convenient for me. I mean, not convenient, but it was ready for me to understand, provided I put in the effort. Now, this is totally different than religion says you don't have to put out any effort. You just have to believe. Well, like I said, that wasn't enough for me. But the School of Metaphysics taught me how, because I was putting in the effort, they said, do these exercises and see what happens. And I was faithful in doing my exercises. And that's, in retrospect, that's what it takes, is because that caused my consciousness to expand. As Einstein put it, a problem cannot be solved by the same level of consciousness that created it. So the answers come through expansion. And I began to find out the truth in that, because a lot of common phrases that I heard all my life that didn't make sense, now, since I was doing concentration exercise and my consciousness was expanding, now I could understand that. Something more was working. And so I began to trust that. And it was the School of Metaphysics that showed me how to go above believing only into knowing. And come to find out that that's what Jesus represents, is the knowing quality in each of us, because he introduced the quality of knowing, and up until he came, it was pretty much established that belief was the whole thing. But Jesus said, come and said, well, there's more, and I'm seeing more, and you can too. And so he was encouraging us to reach for the Christ consciousness within ourself, and that's what he accomplished. If you don't want to understand the whole picture, then you can buy into what they made up with just from a lack of understanding. And if that's efficient for you, then that'll do for this lifetime. But that's not enough. The truth, the whole universe works off of universal laws, and a truth which is universal will explain a universal law. It will support that. So, and I won't give a bunch of examples here for that. If this piques your interest, then do your research. Listen to my talk on the question, and if you follow that routine, your own soul will guide you to where you need to be looking. Your own soul will guide you. You don't need me for that. All I'm doing is if you're listening to this, then you need to hear my talk on the question and ask the question that is most important to you. And then listen for the answer for your prayers in meditation. That's what listening is. The aggressive part is saying the prayer or stating your intention, and then listening within for the answer to your prayers will cause you to begin to get the pictures from your own subconscious mind, your soul, to guide you to the experience or experiences that you need in order to understand your question. And your soul is your real partner. It's the marriage made in heaven between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. Heaven is the superconscious mind. Heaven is not a place you go to when you die. It is the Christ consciousness that is embedded in the first level of mind that you bring forth into the conscious mind where you can actually use it. That's the second coming of Christ, is becoming acquainted with the Christ consciousness, which has been there all along. It was hidden in the lesson, it was hidden close enough to where you could find it, but it was hidden so that you would have to dig. The good stuff is buried. And that's one of the talks I did. The good stuff is buried deep. But now I'm just going to talk about truth, because as I found out through the School of Metaphysics, and I had a question, and School of Metaphysics had the answer, and my soul is what connected me with it. It's not rocket science. But if you expect a group of people or even one individual to tell you where to look, then you're misguided. Your own soul will cause you to find what it is that you need. And so you rely on you look within for the answer to your prayers, not somewhere else. So the truth can only come through your own experience. The truth can only come through your own experience. You can read it. People can tell you this is true, that's true. A group of people can tell you what you ought to believe this, you ought not to believe that. Well, that's somebody else's idea. So look within to find what it is that you need to work with, which will be different than other people. Now, if you want to be like other people, so be it. That causes heart trouble. Because it's the wrong way to look. Well, not wrong or right, but it's not productive to be like other people. It can be if you admire somebody the way they get things done. You can be like that other person. You can kind of learn from that other person. But you are unique. There's no one else like you. And as I talked about last week, giving, when you identify what you have to give and give it, and more people are doing that, then things are just going to be a lot better, because we'll be supporting each other. Like Jesus said, you are your brother's keeper. Now, brother is a familiar part of yourself. And you are responsible for 144,000 different parts of yourself to direct. And we've discovered the different parts of ourselves through experiences. And each experience has a potential of giving you insight into a little bit more of yourself. And everything you need to find is already within here. It always has been. And so when you rise above the distractions and start really looking in the place where everything is, then you begin to find. So the truth will set you free. Jesus said that very clearly. And remember, Jesus represents the part of you that knows. The knowing quality within yourself says that the truth will set you free. And I'm telling you that the truth is only available through your own experience. Yes, you can learn from the experiences of others too. That saves you a little time. But look within. That's where everything is. And to reach an ideal for a lifetime, you go through a series of many things established in goal with addition of purpose, and then the activity is what actually gives it a place to be. So goal, purpose, and activity aid you in establishing the ideal that you set forth to reach this lifetime. Now, you may not remember having made this choice, but you made it while you were still existing as a soul before you put your full attention into this body. And if you want to know more about how those things work, then there's a lot of readings available at School of Metaphysics where you can examine these different things. Or even better, get your own reading so you can begin to get some insight. I have found the past life readings to be very valuable in that, from my experience, the past life reading that I'm getting now, whenever I get one, that will deal with something that I'm going through right now, and so it will be useful information. It's not a curiosity trip. If you approach things with just a curiosity only, this will be insufficient. You've got to have a real reason. Like when I found the School of Metaphysics, it's because I needed to know why. I needed to know how. Just don't tell me that it is, and I just need to accept it. I don't work that way. I need proof, and the proof comes through my experience. My experience. And I can see the experience in others. But I can, at this point in our existence, I see where most of the world is still asleep. And I took the time to wake up. And it takes effort. The church will tell you, no, it don't take effort. But they're missing the point. If they can get you to believe like they are, then they're excused from putting out the effort, and that's what churches do. And that's okay if that's where you are. But I needed the truth. Nothing else would be satisfactory. And from the first night at School of Metaphysics, I started to relax because these people were speaking my language and nobody else had up to that time. And I was 42 years old. And it seems that just about every student that showed up at the School of Metaphysics had some experiences similar to mine. They knew there was more. So they probably did the same thing I did. Where is it? How do I find it? And with that, if that need to know or that acknowledgement of the need to know causes your soul to connect you with what, even though you may not be aware of what you're looking for, your own soul knows. And the soul is I am expressing through the subconscious mind. I am expresses to the subconscious mind as spirit. And I am expresses to the conscious mind as the conscious ego. And that's a whole other story. You need to get acquainted with the conscious ego. Religion refers to this as the devil. And so that's the way their adolescent way of understanding things. But it's insufficient. There are 4 divisions of the conscious ego. The infancy, adolescence, adulthood, and then the wisdom stage, which is the old age. And that's the stage that I'm in now, and I'm enjoying it much more than I anticipated. I kind of suspected I might enjoy it, but now I know. And I enjoy doing these talks. And then just yesterday, I do soul card readings, which gives a person a clear way of seeing where they are. To be specific, it indicates how you're using energy in 13 different ways toward understanding yourself. And I did a reading for a lady just yesterday, a friend. I've known her for years, and she was just now ready for it, and she was, and it turned out beautiful. And the bottom line is that she discovered through this reading that she's much better off than she suspected. And I know this lady, she's been working at it. And so it's not accidental that her own soul gave her a big pat on the back, big time. Big time. And there were suggestions for further improvement, yes. But her own soul gave her many pats on the back during this reading. And there's 13 cards I use, because there's 13 different ways that you express energy toward understanding yourself, and to clarify each one. And I felt really good about doing the reading, and she felt good about receiving it. So and I want to do more of this. And if this gets your curiosity, you can scroll down to the bottom of my talks. It's YouTube at The Next Step, Winston Cunningham. Scroll all the way to the bottom, and I kind of explain a little bit more about the spiritual card reading that I do. And I want to do more of those. So, and I give the way you can contact me on that site. So, but this is something that is available that I've learned how to use. It's something I constructed myself, and it started with the help of a friend, but she didn't continue. I continued, and over years I've kind of improved the process, and it's very valuable. But it's not valuable as a curiosity trip. A person has to be serious about wanting to know from their soul's perspective where they are. Because a lot of people are wishing or are kind of wanting to get started with something new and everything, but they don't quite know where to start because they don't know where they are. And this reading can be a valuable tool to understand where you are, so that when you understand what is occurring, then you've got something to work with which to go forward with. Without knowing where you are, you're just shooting in the dark. And so this will be a very valuable reading if you're ready for it. If you're not ready for it, it'll be a waste of time. Or if you're not ready to use it, because as I instructed this lady yesterday, and I will instruct anybody that gets the reading, that you have to look at it every day to see in subtle ways how you want to tweak the process and make subtle improvements, and to set forth an intention every day when you read it over, to how you will be attentive to this particular little detail. And so it takes that consistent effort. And so a person I do a reading for, I ask them to look at it every day in this way for at least a year, and I give them more instruction on how to do it. So the value of it will come as they apply this procedure. This is available. Anyway, that's and if you haven't heard any of my readings so far, then as I said, the YouTube at The Next Step, Winston Cunningham. That's the way you find it. And this will be the number 76 talk that is added to this site. So I talk about subtle things, like today I'm talking about truth. Last week I talked about giving. One thing specifically, I'll build around that. but I don't make any notes to prepare for today's talk. I just wrote the word truth, and I talk about what I know and what my experience has been, and how I've come to understand that indeed it is the truth that sets you free. And that means, and Jesus didn't actually say this, but since the truth will set you free, and you can only see truth through your own experience, to look anywhere else is futile. In other words, everything else is BS before science. There's a lot more I could say, but truth will set you free. Truth supports a universal law, and universal laws are what governs our existence. And to be aware of what the laws are and pay attention specifically to how you are using the laws or misusing, and search for the truth. And listen to my talk on the question. Clarify the question in your mind so that your own soul is responding to where you are now. Thank you. I'm Winston Cunningham.